Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. I'm joined by our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and Nashville Scene columnist and CityCast Nashville contributor, Nicole Williams. We've got some truly strange Metro news, updates on the state budget, and what's left in the legislative session. And of course, good news! It's Friday, April 18th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Nicole, where are you calling in from?
I am calling from a car in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, you're getting crazy today.
Yes, I have left my house.
Big news. Huge. Those are some major headlines.
Regular listeners of the podcast are going to be so happy for you.
Well, thank you so much for still joining us today. We're always so happy to have you. Let's, of course, start with Metro Council. Nicole always brings us the tea, but this week seemed more chamomile than spicy chai. You like that?
I love that.
What happened? I hear we're getting a new library.
We are getting a new library near Hadley Park, so that's cool. And there was some mild tea, I would say, not quite chamomile, not like sleepy time tea. Councilmember Joy Stiles attempted, or she did, pull a bill off of the first reading consent calendar, which, as people may know, first reading is kind of perfunctory. And so the council generally passes all of those bills at one time, no separate debate. Councilmember Stiles wanted to defer a bill that the mayor's administration has brought about several different boards and commissions, which has been sort of her bailiwick. Stiles was not successful. The bill was not deferred, but that was like one moment that was like, oh, okay.
Nicole, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Joy Stiles running for mayor?
All signs point to yes.
And what would be her platform versus the current administration?
So she has sparred with the administration pretty consistently over the issue of funding for Metro Arts. She herself has a theater and country music background.
Find her videos on YouTube.
Yes. So that's been one space that she's really sort of dug in against Mayor Freddie O'Connell. And she's also more generally expressed concerns about things that are happening behind the scenes, like a working group on boards and commissions that Councilmember Stiles referred to as a cabal. And then there's been some drama over the Music, Film, and Entertainment Commission, with the mayor's office attempting to take away their hiring and firing power for the director of that office. And so Councilmember Stiles has been full-throated in her opposition to some of these moves from the administration, particularly as it concerns like the music, film, entertainment, arts space.
We do also have some interesting news coming out of Metro involving our police chief.
News broke Wednesday that Metro Nashville Police Chief John Drake is under internal investigation for what WSMV characterized as pursuing a romantic relationship with a Metro employee while on the city's dime. We are going to keep the woman's name out of our mouths, but WSMV has obtained texts between the two of them that point towards potential canoodling while in the office. According to police spokesperson Don Aaron, the texts came from a man who currently faces aggravated stalking charges against the Metro employee with whom Drake we don't know, having the relationship. So this is a big old mess. Nicole, your thoughts?
So I find it so fascinating that the move right now is to discredit the person who brought this to the attention of the media. That's similar to how the police department has handled the MNPD whistleblower who filed the Jillian Page complaint. They sort of went after him, saying that he was somehow involved in the leaking of the covenant documents. I'm not condoning aggravated stalking by any means. People are innocent until proven guilty, though. And it just seems to be a convenient way to shift the focus from the issue at hand, which is Was there an inappropriate relationship taking place during work hours? But I'm going to be honest, I don't really care. I don't care about this. I don't care about what happened with former Mayor Megan Barry. I think that the hype is overblown on all of these things.
I do have some more conspiratorially minded friends who think that this is all a ploy to remove Chief Drake from office, somehow thus solving the issues surrounding the whistleblower and the COB dismantling and all of the various allegations that have been swirling around that department now for over a year. Do you think that's a possibility?
The mayor could dismiss him from his position if he wanted to. And this is not a good enough reason. So, like, if they're looking for a reason to get rid of him, this is kind of silly.
Well, we're going to avoid going down the rabbit hole on this, but it certainly was a story here locally that caught our eye. And I'm sure there will be more shoes to drop in the never-ending shoe closet of Metro Nashville. It's like a laundry basket full of shoes at all times.
We have so many shoes, so many shoes.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new next-gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. NextGen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
Speaking of big old messes, Whitney, the Tennessee State Senate passed a bill yesterday that will do serious damage to a major local industry. I'm going to go eat a gummy while you tell us all about it.
In a move that growers and small business owners feared would happen but fought like hell to stop, the Republican-controlled Tennessee General Assembly has now effectively banned the sale of THCA products in our state. Assuming that Governor Lee signs this bill and no lawsuits pop up to stop it, the most popular hemp product in the state must be removed from shelves at the start of next year, and sellers in other states can no longer ship them here.
Whitney, can you remind us, though, what is THCA?
So the science behind all of this gets confusing, even to me. But the short version is THCA occurs naturally in a hemp plant. So when you heat it, it turns into THC. And that's the wacky tobacco effect that Republican state legislators are concerned is harming our children. But because of the 2018 Farm Bill, it's a federal statute, THCA is completely legal. This bill has now closed that loophole in Tennessee, mandating all products contain less than 0.3% of the stuff, which makes it just arduous for growers and retailers to test and all that stuff. There is also that lawsuit sitting in the courts we talked about earlier this year, brought by hemp growers against an agricultural rule that would ban it completely.
I just want to state the hemp industry generates an estimated $280 to $560 million in revenue, with much of that going back to the state of Tennessee. I think I read it was about $22 million or so. And I know we're all aware of how many local shops are likely to be impacted or put out of business because of this.
Yep, it's going to risk so many of those great boutique shops we have here in Nashville. My personal favorite has become Clara Jane. Their stuff is great. Marie, I know you love the folks over at Canvassed, but it's also going to impact hundreds of farmers. A crucial detail here is that the entire hemp industry is also being moved out from under the purview of the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and being put under the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. My guess, although I'm not an expert, is that the people who make booze were worried that these like empirically, medically much safer products were cutting into their bottom line. And we actually saw several lawmakers testify on the floor of the Senate yesterday that nobody is applying these same rules to alcohol. And the number of people and children who are harmed thanks to alcohol every day is astronomical.
Yeah, the alcohol-related death rate in Tennessee increased 98% from 2012 to 2022, compared to the U.S. average of 70%, according to data from KFF. According to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission's own findings, from 2020 to 2023, alcohol-related emergency room visits for youth aged 10 to 20 increased by 22.5%. Alcohol-related car crashes for youth aged 13 to 19 from 2019 to 2023 increased, get ready, by 209%.
So basically, you can go get blackout drunk and crash your car into a building or harm your kid, and that's fine, according to the Republican state legislators. But if you want to take your little gummy so that you can go to sleep while the world is burning, that's not okay. We sound really annoyed, and it's because we are.
This is an issue very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, and it's like, you kids and your weed. It helps veterans. It helps seniors. It helps people with disabilities. It helps people who suffer from chronic pain. Like, it's absolute madness to me that we have to live in the reefer madness era here in Tennessee, especially around something that's federally legal.
Accepted everywhere. It's accepted so many places across our country. We are moving backwards. And it's going to hurt us financially.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt so many local businesses and our farmers. Take a deep breath. Moving on. The General Assembly also passed the annual budget on Wednesday. What are the big headlines there?
There was actually a lot of movement in the final days of this year's budget, which comes to about $60 billion, $24.5 billion or so of which comes from the federal government. So perhaps with an eye towards federal cuts that are coming down the pike, lawmakers did shift some state funds towards local health departments and hospitals, but they also moved a few million to the state attorney general's office for its special litigation unit, which was created to investigate former President Joe Biden's programs. Okay. The Tennessean has a great list of kind of what got funded and what didn't. What didn't get funded was expanded funding for a summer food program. Republicans voted down a John Ray Clemens amendment to fully fund a Department of Human Services summer grocery program for Tennessee kids. This in the light of a lot of cuts to food programs statewide as well as federally, especially when you think about the USDA food that's no longer coming to places like Second Harvest Food Bank. They also declined to fund tax relief for everyday Tennesseans. Republicans voted down a proposal from Representative Afton Bain to cut grocery taxes on fruits and vegetables in a 24 to 68 vote. That is 68 people thinking that, yes, poor families should keep having to pay taxes on fruits and vegetables. Republican lawmakers also had a little fun and took about $180 million of the budget to fund their own little pet projects, which means they had to make some cuts and move stuff around. So they did cut $60 million for a starter home revolving loan fund that would have provided construction loans at 0% interest. They cut $35 million proposed for a Duck River conservation effort. I think it's that pipeline that we've talked about here before. We do know that the Duck River is the primary drinking water source for 250,000 Tennesseans here in the middle part of the state. They also cut a $20 million grant for the Nashville Zoo, which could impact the zoo's expansion plans. It looks like the zoo will get $4 million alongside the other major zoos in the state. What did not change was the amount of money going to Governor Lee's school vouchers program. Democrats tried to shift $120 million of that to fix potholes and highways, but no dice. What was added at the last minute that I want to point out, I think this is important. There was this weird thing where they added $8 million to pay for primary elections, to reimburse local political parties for primary elections. And this appears to be in response to Republicans in Williamson and Murray counties wanting to move from a primary system to a caucus system. Nicole, can you briefly explain the difference between a primary and a caucus?
Sure. So probably everyone has heard of like the Iowa caucuses, very famous in presidential politics. The way a caucus works is everyone who is registered with a certain party, so say it's the Democratic caucus, all the Democrats who want to participate show up to various school gymnasiums, churches, etc. on a Tuesday night. And they essentially sort of group themselves physically based on who they want to support in that caucus. And there can be multiple rounds, multiple regroupings. I've never experienced one, but it sounds like a real blast. The way a primary system works is much like a typical election. You show up and you pick who you want to win the primary, and then the votes just get tallied.
Is one more small d Democratic than the other?
That's a good question. I know there is a concern with caucuses that because they're so time intensive and because you can't like absentee vote in a caucus,
Right.
that it can be sort of restrictive for people who want to participate. With primary elections, you just have to show up and vote. Maybe you have to stand in a long line, but it's a lot less intensive than a caucus is. Also, if you're caucusing, you are essentially showing the whole room who you support. So it's not private in the way that a primary system and a general election are designed to keep your vote secure and secret.
Well, it's very interesting to know that two counties that people who very well could be listening to this podcast have local officials considering a possible switch to caucuses. Everybody keep an eye on that. I don't know what any of it means.
Yeah, it's sort of strange. We don't do caucuses in Tennessee. We never have, to my knowledge, at least as long as the modern voting system has been in place. So I wonder what is sort of motivating that.
We'll find out, is my guess.
Yeah.
And then I do want to point out that the budget is sending $35.6 million, even in this time of great concern about federal funding cuts and risks to existing programs. We're sending $35.6 million to the state's rainy day fund, which now totals a whopping $2.2 billion, the largest in state history. I'm just wondering when it's going to rain.
Because it feels like it's raining all the time.
It's very rainy, y'all. Like, things are dire. People are not able to afford their groceries.
So why are we sitting on $2.2 billion, Nicole? Is it just for our state's credit rating?
This is the sort of thing where I'm like, why do you have, like, what would constitute a situation, an emergency that says to the Republicans who control the state, it is worth tapping into our rainy day fund? Because otherwise you're just sort of like Scrooge McDuck with your billions of dollars in gold coins.
You know, we are a nonpartisan podcast, so I'm hoping there are at least a few Republicans listening. If you are a Republican and you're listening to this, shoot us an email at nashville@citycast.fm and let us know what you would like to see that rainy day fund used for and what would constitute that kind of emergency to you. Because I do think that there are a lot of people on the Democratic side of the coin saying, everything is on fire. As Nicole just mentioned, people don't have money for food. People are losing jobs. Let's unlock those funds. But I would really be curious to hear, honestly, people's answers.
All right, we're coming into what people think will be the final week of session. Whitney, again, throwing it back to you. What big things are still on the table?
Well, so the biggest thing that a lot of folks have been tracking this year is obviously this bill that could deny undocumented kids a public education. The three of us have talked about that on the show before. It did pass in the Senate last week. But speaking of the budget, this bill was placed behind the budget in the House, which is because it required some funding to execute. And the funding to pay for it was one of the things that got removed from the budget before the budget passed, which leads some people to think that this bill has potentially stalled for the session. Now, we know we never say die until they say sine die, which means they've ended session for good. There's all kinds of ways this could zombie its way back up, but maybe this is an encouraging sign that the outcry around this bill that was bipartisan, I mean, it squeaked through the Senate. And by squeaked, I mean 19-13. That counts as squeaking in a Republican supermajority. So hopefully that one's dead for the year.
I watched the floor debate in the Senate about this bill, and Senator Todd Gardenhire from Chattanooga teared up talking about this. He was just like, what are we doing? These are children. And what I find so fascinating about this from a political standpoint is that typically we will see the state house pass these kind of like very MAGA conservative messaging bills attempting to sort of thwart Supreme Court rulings and precedent. And then a lot of times they'll get to the Senate and they'll die in the Senate. For whatever reason, this like flew through the Senate and has been hung up in the state house. I sure hope they don't tap into the rainy day fund to use it for this.
This has inspired some of the most emotional protests that I've seen in my time following this stuff. You had families and kids and educators and pastors, people showing up and shutting down committee meetings by reciting the Lord's Prayer over and over again. It made me emotional. I'm glad to see that it got through to Republicans like Senator Gardenhire as well. And again, we'll keep an eye on it, but fingers crossed maybe that it has gone the way of the dodo. There are two more things still on the table that we've been watching. One is the bill that would roll back protections for up to 80% of the state's isolated wetlands. We had a great episode with Cassandra Stevenson from the Tennessee Lookout about this. And the last thing I want to keep an eye on is this bill that governs protests. It passed in the Senate already and is still in the House. Should come up first thing next week. It would allow police to order members of the media and the public to remain 25 feet away from crime scenes, traffic stops, and any, quote, ongoing and immediate threat to public safety. It would give police added enforcement powers during public protests and demonstrations, redefine the crime of littering to include the distribution of flyers with the intent to unlawfully intimidate, criminalize the hanging of banners and signs over bridges and tunnels, and allow police to make misdemeanor arrests of protesters identified through social media videos. Nicole, some of this sounds familiar, and it might be because Nashville's Metro Council passed some of it into local law last year.
That they did. Some folks warned at the time that this could set an unfortunate precedent that could be used against protesters. Let me back up. So the stated justification at the time that those bills passed the Metro Council was we need a way to fight back against the anti-Semitism, the Nazi protests, really terrifying sort of like intimidation from neo-Nazi groups coming to Nashville. And local governments can't make criminal laws. Like we can't make something a criminal offense. So we basically made things like littering these hateful flyers, blocking entranceways to public buildings. Those became civil infractions carrying just a $50 fine. But from what I've read, the mayor's office has been working with Republicans in the state legislature on this effort to criminalize those actions. Once you start talking about criminalizing things, it can very quickly devolve to be used against people who are protesting in ways that the powers that be do not appreciate. There was a lot of concern when those bills were passed at the Metro Council that this was going to be weaponized against people who are saying things that the powers that be do not like, but that are not actually hate speech, and they're not threatening violence. They're not attempting to intimidate people. So the fact that the mayor's office has apparently been working with the state legislature on this, it's some real cause for concern, and particularly the provision that would sort of bar the media from getting up close and personal when things that the media would report about are happening. That is alarming and quite chilling to me.
As someone new to being in the media versus a comedian, it would seem to be my job to go and cover this story at a closer distance than 25 feet. I understand there's a safety issue. You know, I watched several of those videos of these people really getting in other people's faces, but I do think that it would be a domino effect to other instances where the media should be able to cover a story closer. I get that the mayor's office is put in this is a difficult position. He is, I hope, trying to keep Nashvillians and tourists and, the community safe. I just don't know if this is the right way of going about it. Nicole, can we hear our theme song, please?
Da-da-da-da, good news.
Yay!
It's so good.
It's so good. The Nashville Scenes cover story this week is wonderful, y'all. And thank goodness we needed something wonderful. It's their food and drink issue, and they've compiled a list of 48 classic dishes in Nashville that never get old. There are so many great things on this list. Everybody go pick up a copy and get hungry. Let's talk about our faves. Whitney.
Okay, I have two. Number one, Daddy's Dogs. I mean, I don't think there's well, I guess I dream of Weenie. I'm sorry, y'all. I love you too. But a Daddy's Dog hits the spot every time. Obviously, it's great to go to their brick and mortars. But also, you know where they hit the hardest is at Nashville SC soccer games. That Daddy's Dog, I walk in the gate, I get my dog, I get my home style, I sit down, and I have a great time. And the dog fills me up without being too heavy. Just the lone wolf. That's how I roll. Just ketchup, mustard, and relish. Do not send me letters.
The snap of the dog.
The snap.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to shout out one that Marie, you and I just had. We had the pleasure of taking one of CityCast's executives to the finest steakhouse in Nashville, Sperry's, last week. And we did, in fact, get the Bananas Foster. And that is also on the list. And let me tell you, when they flambe that stuff right there by your eyebrows, that is the real deal.
It was incredible. That was so good. Well, I have to vote for my favorite, the glazed donut from Fox's Donut Den in Green Hills. Classic. I've been getting that, since I was a child, and it tastes incredible. Very nostalgic. I love it.
I want to second Marie's love of the Donut Den, and I also want to shout out their apple fritter. It's my favorite.
Oh, yes.
And their lemon-filled donut. But my personal favorite of the items on this list is the fruit tea from Calypso Cafe. I love a fruit tea. And one thing that I loved about this review was that the writer, Eli Modica, who, like me, grew up in Nashville, shouted out a bygone classic, Bread and Company, which, if you've been here for long enough, you know Bread and Company, you love Bread and Company, you miss Bread and Company, R.I.P. Bread and Company.
The chicken salad from Bread and Company. Oh,
so good. And the fruit tea, that was the tie-in, yes.
Love it. Well, before we go, I have to talk about there's a new mural in town, and it's featuring my snake queen, Taylor Swift. It's at 407 Trinity Lane. The owners of a development owned by OIC Horizon Nashville put up this, I will say it's a decent looking mural. There's been some, bashing it, but I say it's quite lovely. And it's featuring musicians who have the word horizon in their lyrics, but dead center is Taylor Swift with lyrics by LeAnn Rimes.
No.
Which I think is so funny, and people are so mad about it. But it turns out, according to Taylor Swift's official reporter, Brian West, he says that out of Taylor Swift's endless discography, she actually doesn't have a single song with the word horizon in it.
How is that possible?
That's why. I don't know.
She's used every word in the English language.
I know. I think it's incredible. I bet she's now like, okay, I see you and I will raise you horizon.
The next album is just called Horizon.
But I mean, people are so mad about it, which I think is funny to be mad at in this state of, affairs at this point in our country. But, why not put LeAnn Rimes in it?
Yeah, justice for LeAnn Rimes.
Yeah, justice for her.
God bless them. I'm sorry it upset you, Marie. I understand.
Yes,
I too would be upset if they put up a mural of Pearl Jam and included lyrics from Soundgarden. I'd be infuriated, to be completely honest. And then real quick, we've got more good news from Radnor Lake, everybody. A baby eagle has been born. Yay! I know we are all still mourning the clouded leopard at the zoo. Also, the zoo has a new little hoglet. But anyway, a baby eagle, especially after last month, we learned that one of the big storms took down the eagle's nest that had 2 eggs in it. They were able to rebuild, God bless those eagles, and save 1 egg. And now we have a baby.
Nashville strong.
Nashville strong.
Eagles are strong.
Hallelujah. I mean, it is Easter. We're going into Easter.
It's true. The baby
wonderful.
eagle is risen. He is risen indeed.
And to close us out, we have to just mention that we're going to be at Fridays by the river tonight. So we hope y'all come out. The band tonight playing is the Tennessee Warblers, which is a bluegrass band.
They're great.
It's also a bird.
And it's a bird.
Oh my gosh.
Keep talking about birds. Food trucks featured will be Bad Luck Burger Club, Lady Dogs, Nicoletta's, Bangkok Belly, and King of Pops. We hope to see y'all there.
We will be there. Come say hi. Come get a sticker. We are loving being the presenting sponsor of this, and it isn't going to rain this time. Also, just folks know it did get rained out last week, but they've added an extra date on May 16th to make up for it.
Come out and try the CityCast Lager.
Mm-hmm. Nicole, enjoy Charlotte.
Thank you.
We appreciate you lending your expertise, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pasterek. Our producer is Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins, with additional music by Abbas Premji and Wendy Marcini from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!